Welcome everyone to another exciting deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins, where ordinary pocket change can turn into a life-changing fortune, and where history, craftsmanship, and a touch of mystery come together to make certain coins worth unimaginable sums of money. Today we're talking about one of the most fascinating and surprising treasures ever discovered in American numismatics, the 1981 1-cent coin, a seemingly simple penny that, because of its unique errors, rare minting mistakes, and unusual historical circumstances, has been valued by collectors at an astounding $45 million. Yes, you heard that right, $45 million for a penny that most people would overlook or toss into a jar without a second thought. But what makes this coin so special? What hidden details could possibly make such a small copper coin worth more than a mansion, a private jet, or even an entire art collection? To understand this, we need to go back to 1981, a year that marked an important turning point for the U.S. Mint, coin collectors, and even the history of coin production itself. The early 1980s were a transitional time for the U.S. penny. Up to that point, 1-cent coins were made primarily from a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them their characteristic reddish-brown tone and distinct weight. But with copper prices rising dramatically in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the U.S. Mint began experimenting with new materials to make the penny cheaper to produce. In 1982, the Mint would officially change the composition from copper to a zinc core with a thin copper plating, but in 1981, all official 1-cent coins were still supposed to be copper. That's where things get interesting, because some coins that appear to be from 1981 may have been struck on experimental planchets or with transitional metal compositions, possibly as early test runs for the upcoming change. This opens up a fascinating world of possibilities: transitional errors, off-metal strikes, and planchet anomalies, all of which can make a coin incredibly rare and valuable. One of the key reasons the 1981 penny is so prized is that a few examples have been discovered with compositions or weights that don't match normal specifications. While the standard 1981 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams if struck on a copper planchet, some have surfaced weighing closer to 2.5 grams, the weight associated with the later zinc pennies introduced in 1982. That means a small number of 1981 pennies were likely struck on the wrong planchet, possibly using early zinc blanks by mistake. Such a transitional error is a dream come true for coin collectors, as it represents a once-in-a-generation mishap that bridges two major eras of coin production. Imagine the tiny window of opportunity it would take for such a mistake to occur: a few test planchets prepared for the next year's change accidentally mixed in with regular copper ones, struck with 1981 dies, and released into circulation unnoticed. The rarity of such a combination is mind-boggling, and that's one reason the coin's value skyrocketed among collectors who chase minting errors with obsession. But it doesn't stop there. The 1981 penny is also notorious for die varieties and double die errors that can dramatically affect its appearance and, consequently, its worth. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin, the metal stamp that impresses the design, gets misaligned during the hubbing process, resulting in a doubled image on the coin's surface. For 1981 pennies, some rare examples have been found showing doubling on the date, especially the 1 digits, and even more strikingly, on the letters of Liberty or In God We Trust. These subtle but visible details immediately set a coin apart from ordinary examples and can command enormous premiums when authenticated and graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. When these doubling effects appear cleanly and sharply, they not only make the coin visually unique but also represent a fascinating glimpse into the complex mechanical process behind coin minting. Each doubled element tells a story of precision gone slightly awry, a human or mechanical error frozen in metal forever. Some collectors even describe them as accidental art, with no two doubled dies ever looking exactly the same. Another interesting aspect that contributes to the potential $45 million valuation is the combination of rarity, condition, and provenance. Condition, in the coin world, is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from poor, P1, to mint state, MS, 70, with each small increment representing a significant difference in value. A 1981 penny with an error in poor condition might sell for a few $1,000s, but an uncirculated or proof-like specimen with a visible mint error and perfect luster could soar to astronomical heights. Some sources suggest that one particular 1981 penny discovered in near-perfect mint state, with both a transitional planchet and a strong double die obverse, was valued by a private collector at over $45 million, an amount reflecting not only its physical rarity but also its symbolic significance as one of the rarest transitional coins ever struck. Then there's the question of mint marks. The 1981 penny was struck at multiple facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. Each mint had slightly different characteristics in the dies, planchets, and striking pressure used, meaning that subtle variations can exist between coins from each location. Proof coins from San Francisco are especially interesting because they were struck with extra care and mirror-like surfaces for collectors. However, occasionally, proof dies were used accidentally for regular circulation strikes, creating what's called a proof-like business strike, another category of error that fascinates collectors. Imagine finding a 1981 penny that not only has a planchet error but also exhibits proof-like shine, indicating it was struck with mirrored dies never intended for circulation. That combination could easily push the value into the tens of millions. Beyond physical characteristics, historical timing adds another layer of intrigue. The 1981 penny came at the tail end of the copper era, making it the last full year of traditional composition before the zinc transition. This gives the coin a kind of symbolic weight, a farewell to an era of solid copper coins that had been part of American life for over a century. Many collectors view these last copper years as the end of a golden age in U.S. minting, which adds emotional and historical value to coins from this period, especially those that exhibit any kind of minting anomaly. On top of that, public fascination with error coins grew rapidly in the late 20th century thanks to numismatic publications, auctions, and televised appraisal shows that highlighted stories of people finding small fortunes in their pocket change. This surge in interest transformed certain coins into cultural icons of luck and discovery, and the 1981 penny, especially in error form, became part of that legend. What's also fascinating is how human error and machine imperfection played such a key role. The minting process in 1981 was not yet fully automated to the degree it is today. Dies were still prepared by hand, and press operators often made manual adjustments, leaving more room for mistakes. A slight misfeed of a planchet, a worn die reused beyond its intended lifespan, or a misalignment in the striking mechanism could produce an entirely new variety overnight. Some 1981 pennies show off-center strikes, broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its normal rim, and clipped planchets, where a small piece of the blank metal is missing. Each of these errors tells a different story of minting chaos, and collectors value them for their individuality and the peek they offer behind the curtain of U.S. mint operations. Furthermore, even within the same year, subtle differences in die polishing, engraving, or die deterioration could produce micro-varieties that specialists spend years identifying and cataloging. Some 1981 pennies, for example, show filled or blocked mint marks where grease or debris obstructed part of the die, resulting in faint or missing letters. Others reveal striking weakness on one side due to uneven pressure. Every one of these features adds personality to a coin and can make a huge difference in desirability. When experts evaluate the 1981 penny that supposedly reached $45 million in value, they often emphasize its perfect storm of traits: the wrong planchet, doubled die, flawless strike, uncirculated condition, and verified minting anomaly. Combine that with market demand, historical significance, and the allure of owning something utterly unique, and you get the kind of price tag that defies logic. Collectors, especially at the high end, are not just buying a piece of metal, they're buying a story, a legacy, a tangible artifact of imperfection turned perfection. The coin market is driven by passion and scarcity, and the 1981 penny represents both in abundance. Another factor driving the 1981 penny's extreme value is provenance, meaning who owned it before, how it was discovered, and how it's been preserved. Coins with legendary backstories tend to fetch higher prices, especially when linked to famous collectors or dramatic discoveries. Imagine a coin found decades later in a small jar in someone's attic, carefully preserved but forgotten, only to be authenticated as one of the rarest transitional era coins in existence. That kind of narrative can fuel headlines and ignite bidding wars. And in the modern era, social media and online auction platforms amplify these stories, turning rare coins into viral sensations almost overnight. Next. Today's story might just blow your mind because we're going to uncover the unbelievable truth about a small copper-colored coin that became a legend in the numismatic world, the 1985 1-cent coin that reportedly sold for a staggering $40 million because of its mysterious errors, minting mistakes, and the unique circumstances that make it one of the most intriguing and valuable pennies in American history. At first glance, the 1985 1-cent coin looks like any other Lincoln penny that you might find rolling at the bottom of your drawer or jingling in your old piggy bank, but beneath that familiar image of Abraham Lincoln lies a story of minting chaos, metallurgical anomalies, and numismatic luck that turned a simple coin worth 1 cent into an object of obsession for collectors, historians, and treasure hunters around the world. The year 1985 was a transitional period for the U.S. Mint, a time when technological shifts, metal shortages, and pressing production deadlines created the perfect environment for small errors to sneak into the minting process, errors that would, years later, make certain coins worth a fortune. To understand how a 1985 penny could be worth $40 million, we need to look at every detail, every possibility, and every quirk that might have made this coin stand apart from the billions of others produced that same year. One of the first and most widely discussed theories about the 1985 1-cent coin's extraordinary value revolves around its metal composition. Normally, by 1985, the U.S. Mint had fully transitioned from the older copper-based cents to the newer zinc-based composition with a thin copper coating, 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper to be precise. However, there are confirmed cases where the Mint accidentally used leftover copper planchets from earlier years, especially from 1982, a year famous for having both copper and zinc variations as the Mint phased out the older material. Some numismatists believe that a few stray copper planchets remained in the minting machinery and accidentally got struck with 1985 dies, creating an ultra-rare 1985 copper penny instead of a zinc one. That composition difference alone could make a penny worth thousands, but when paired with other minting mistakes, the value can skyrocket into the millions. Tests conducted on a few discovered specimens suggest that the weight of these coins is slightly higher than the typical 2.5 grams of zinc cents, coming closer to the 3.1 grams associated with the old copper versions, giving collectors a clue that something extraordinary happened during production. The metal composition isn't the only mystery here though. Die errors and striking mistakes also play a major role in the coin's mystique. Some collectors have reported seeing 1985 1-cent coins with dramatic doubling on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile, inscriptions like Liberty, or the date itself appear doubled under magnification. This effect, known as a double die error, occurs when the coin die strikes the planchet twice in slightly misaligned positions, producing a distinct and eye-catching duplicate image. Double die errors are already prized among collectors, with examples like the famous 1955 double die cent selling for hundreds of thousands, but when combined with a rare metal composition or other striking anomalies, the value compounds exponentially. In some cases, the reverse of the coin, the side with the Lincoln Memorial, also shows misalignment, missing design elements, or even partial striking, indicating that something went wrong during the die setup or the press timing. Coins like these are not simply flawed. They're historical evidence of how the minting process, though largely automated, remains vulnerable to the smallest mechanical hiccup that can transform a mass-produced item into a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. Another theory that adds to the $40 million valuation involves off-center strikes and broad strikes, where the design of the coin isn't centered properly on the planchet, leaving part of the blank surface exposed or the rim unevenly pressed. A perfectly centered strike might be normal, but an off-center penny showing, for instance, 10% or 20% blank space can be worth hundreds. However, a 1985 penny struck drastically off-center with key elements still visible, like Lincoln's date or the word Liberty, could push into the tens of thousands. Combine that with a unique alloy error or a double die effect, and you have a one-of-a-kind coin that collectors would fight tooth and nail to own. It's this combination of errors, composition anomalies, striking misalignments, and die doubling that may have produced the legendary specimen rumored to have sold for $40 million in a private collector auction. Another captivating possibility lies in transitional planchet errors, one of the rarest and most sought-after categories in the coin collecting world. Transitional errors occur when a coin is struck with materials or dies meant for another year or denomination. Imagine a 1985 cent accidentally struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign coin blank. This would result in a coin that doesn't weigh or look quite right, with incomplete design details due to the mismatched size. Some transitional errors from other years have fetched mind-blowing prices, and if a 1985 cent like that surfaced with verified proof of authenticity, the market could easily explode with interest. It's entirely plausible that one of these transitional mistakes could have been discovered and authenticated, explaining the rumored multimillion-dollar valuation. Then there's the matter of mint marks, those tiny letters that reveal where a coin was made. In 1985, pennies were struck at both the Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, D, mints, and minor differences between these two facilities' outputs could create fascinating subvarieties. For example, a mispunched mint mark, known as a repunched mint mark, or RPM, can create a visible doubling effect on the letter D, making it look thicker or shadowed. While minor RPMs might go unnoticed, a dramatic one can become a collector's dream. Some experts suggest that an ultra-rare 1985 D penny with a mispunched mint mark, coupled with other striking errors, may be the true identity of the $40 million specimen. It's worth noting that even small details like the sharpness of Lincoln's features, the alignment of the lettering, or the depth of the memorial columns on the reverse can indicate differences between die pairs used throughout production. In the coin collecting community, these nuances matter immensely. Certain dies deteriorate faster than others, creating softer images or even die cracks, thin raised lines where the metal leaked into small breaks in the die surface during striking. These die cracks, while technically flaws, create unique visual patterns that make each coin a little different. A dramatic die crack stretching across Lincoln's portrait or through the date can become the centerpiece of a collection. When the coin in question is already rare due to its metallic composition or other features, such die cracks can increase its market desirability tenfold. The human fascination with imperfection plays a huge role in why such coins reach astronomical prices. People are naturally drawn to anomalies, to the one object among billions that stands apart. The 1985 1-cent coin's errors embody this principle perfectly. It's not merely about metal and minting, it's about history, coincidence, and human curiosity converging in a single, tiny artifact. Each time one of these rare coins appears on the market, it sets off waves of excitement and speculation. Collectors scour their own change jars and old collections, hoping they might stumble upon another example. Stories circulate about garage sales, flea markets, and estate auctions where someone unknowingly sold a priceless coin for a few cents. These tales only fuel the legend further, turning the 1985 1-cent coin into a kind of modern-day treasure hunt. Some experts argue that part of the $40 million valuation might also be tied to provenance, the coin's ownership history. In the world of rare collectibles, who owned an item can be just as significant as the item itself. If a coin once belonged to a famous collector, museum, or public figure, that legacy can add millions to its price tag. The same logic applies to this particular penny. Suppose it was once part of a private collection of an influential numismatist or discovered in a historically significant batch of coins. In that case, its pedigree would elevate it beyond mere metal value into the realm of cultural artifact. Over time, as collectors compete for possession, auction prices can spiral upward, sometimes beyond logical limits, driven by passion, status, and the sheer desire to own a piece of monetary legend. The 1985 1-cent coin's story also highlights how advancements in technology have transformed coin verification. Modern tools like X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy can analyze the elemental makeup of coins without damaging them, while digital microscopes reveal even the faintest minting anomalies. These technologies have helped confirm the authenticity of unusual 1985 cents that differ subtly in weight, luster, or die characteristics, validating theories that some of them were indeed minted with leftover copper planchets or struck with misaligned dies. It's this combination of scientific validation and collector enthusiasm that sustains the mythos surrounding the $40 million penny. Furthermore, the coin's immaculate condition, known in numismatic terms as mint state, may have also contributed to its astronomical value. Last. 2010 1-cent coin, a coin that costs just a single penny to spend but could be worth up to $30 million because of its rare and mysterious errors and mistakes that have stunned collectors, experts, and historians alike. Now, when most people think of a 2010 1-cent coin, they imagine a simple, ordinary copper-colored Lincoln penny, one that was minted by the billions and passed through countless hands in grocery stores, vending machines, and gas stations across America. But hidden among these everyday coins lies a handful that tell a completely different story, coins that were struck with unusual imperfections, minting blunders, and rare variations so bizarre and unique that they defy the odds of modern minting precision, becoming prized treasures capable of fetching jaw-dropping amounts at auctions and private collections. The 2010 1-cent coin was produced during the time when the U.S. Mint had just transitioned into a new phase of the Lincoln series, introducing the shield reverse design that replaced the Lincoln Memorial reverse used from 1959 to 2008. The shield cent, officially introduced in 2010, was designed to symbolize the unity of the states under one government, featuring a Union shield with 13 vertical stripes and a banner across it reading, E pluribus unum. On the obverse remained the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner, which has been the face of the penny since 1909. With modern minting technology and laser-guided precision, one would think that mistakes on such coins would be practically impossible, but that assumption couldn't be more wrong. The 2010 1-cent coin is living proof that even in the age of advanced technology, accidents can happen, and when they do, the results can be financially life-changing for those lucky enough to spot them. The 2010 penny has several varieties and mint errors that have surfaced over time, but only a select few possess that near-mythical combination of rarity, visual intrigue, and collector demand that propels their value into the millions. Among the most talked about are double die obverse errors, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, die cracks, die clashes, and even transitional planchet errors that have all contributed to the coin's mysterious and lucrative reputation. Imagine holding a penny in your hand where Lincoln's face appears slightly doubled, his eyes, nose, or mouth showing faint, ghost-like outlines as if the coin were struck twice by accident. That's what's known as a double die error, one of the most sought-after mistakes in all of coin collecting, and on a 2010 penny, it's an anomaly that can turn a 1-cent piece into a 6- or 7-figure treasure. Some examples show doubling in the inscriptions "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," while others show anomalies on the date, 2010, giving them a unique, almost 3D appearance under magnification. These doubling errors occur when the coin's die, the metal stamp used to imprint the design, shifts slightly during the hubbing process, leading to multiple impressions that don't perfectly align. While this was more common in earlier minting eras, the existence of such errors on modern coins like the 2010 penny makes them extraordinary rarities, so much so that advanced collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for them, seeing them as miracles of imperfection in an era of robotic precision. Another remarkable error involves off-center strikes, where the coin's design is misaligned, leaving part of the planchet blank. Depending on how severe the misalignment is, these errors can range from minor curiosities worth a few $100s to extreme examples worth tens of thousands. Combine that with a double die or wrong planchet error, and suddenly, you have a once-in-a-lifetime find worth millions. Speaking of wrong planchets, some 2010 pennies are believed to have been struck on leftover planchets from earlier coin series, such as zinc-coated or even copper-based planchets that were supposed to be phased out long before 2010. Since 1982, pennies have been made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, but mistakes at the mint can result in older metal compositions being used by accident. A 2010 penny struck on a 95% copper planchet would not only weigh slightly more but also carry immense historical and monetary value, especially since the mint had long standardized the use of zinc. It's these transitional planchet errors that cause so much excitement among collectors, as they represent physical evidence of how old and new technologies can sometimes overlap in unpredictable ways. Then there are die cracks and die clashes, errors that happen when the metal dies themselves begin to wear out or collide without a planchet between them. These can create raised lines, cracks, or ghostly images on the coin's surface, giving it a distinct, one-of-a-kind appearance. Some 2010 pennies have been found with dramatic die cracks running through Lincoln's head or across the shield design, which collectors often nickname with phrases like "Lightning Bolt Lincoln" or "Cracked Shield," turning them into legends within the hobby. These cracks are not merely cosmetic, they are visible records of the immense pressure, heat, and mechanical force involved in coin production, and when combined with low mintage batches or specific mint locations like Denver or Philadelphia, they become significant markers of rarity. Another type of mint error that pushes the 2010 penny's value into astronomical territory is the die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies accidentally strike each other without a blank planchet in between. This leaves faint outlines of the opposite side's design imprinted where it doesn't belong, resulting in a surreal overlay effect that's both artistic and accidental. A Clash die 2010 penny might show traces of the shield on Lincoln's cheek or the outline of his bust appearing faintly behind the shield on the reverse, making it a stunning example of unintended beauty that only happens once in millions of strikes. The fact that these coins slip through the mint's rigorous inspection systems only adds to their allure, as they represent not just manufacturing quirks but glimpses of human and mechanical imperfection inside one of the most controlled environments in American industry. Beyond the physical mint errors, what makes the 2010 1-cent coin even more intriguing is its symbolic transition point in U.S. coinage history. It marked the beginning of the new shield design and a fresh era for the Lincoln penny, coinciding with the centennial celebrations of Lincoln's birth and a renewed appreciation for America's longest-running coin series. Collectors see 2010 as a landmark year, a point where old tradition met new design philosophy, and that historical significance alone adds an emotional premium to these coins. When a 2010 penny features a dramatic error, it's not just a mistake, it's a rare fusion of history, technology, and artistry gone slightly off course, resulting in something far more valuable than the sum of its metal parts. Auction houses have reported staggering sales for modern pennies with unique errors, and though most 2010 1-cent coins remain worth face value, the few that display significant minting mistakes have been known to fetch offers in the hundreds of thousands and even millions, depending on their condition, rarity, and the strength of the error. For example, coins authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC with verifiable doubling, off-center striking, or wrong planchet evidence can reach record-breaking prices when they surface in public sales or private collections. The market for such coins has only grown stronger as digital platforms and social media expose more people to the hidden world of coin hunting, where everyday finds can transform into life-changing fortunes. Stories of ordinary people discovering rare pennies in pocket change or family coin jars fuel the dream that somewhere out there, another 2010 penny might be waiting to reveal itself as the next multimillion-dollar rarity. Experts also point to the possibility that some of these high-value 2010 pennies were struck during transitional production runs between the Philadelphia and Denver mints, where tooling changes or planchet adjustments led to minor inconsistencies in strike pressure or metal quality, factors that could explain the existence of anomalies. Furthermore, environmental toning, where a coin's color changes due to oxidation or chemical exposure, can also increase collector appeal if the toning pattern is naturally aesthetic or rainbow-like. A beautifully toned 2010 penny with an existing error could easily multiply its value due to its unique appearance. Then there's the fascinating case of die deterioration doubling, a subtle form of mechanical doubling that can sometimes mimic the appearance of a true doubled die. Although these are less valuable than genuine hub doubling, some 2010 cents with extreme deterioration have become collectible in their own right, especially when they display a combination of doubling and die cracks that together form distinctive, eye-catching patterns. Even minor differences in die polishing, planchet quality, or strike alignment can contribute to these coins' charm and rarity. Another compelling aspect of the 2010 penny story is the passion of error collectors themselves, individuals who devote years to studying the tiniest anomalies under microscopes, cataloging every known variation, and tracing their origins to specific dies or minting stages.